Hi. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just typing up a little bit of a something for one of my videos. So, how's everybody doing? Hope you're enjoying the weather. And talking about weather and all kinds of strange things. As you know, I am into strange things, of course. And I watch a lot of documentaries, a lot of movies, a lot of shows. And I'm always curious. But I would say, as a videographer, if you want, mostly I like to dream. Yeah. And that's why we have movies and those documentaries, so we can escape to some of our favorite places. Like in the back, I have a picture of a black hole. And, well, we sort of all know what is a black hole. But in resume, a black hole, like I always figured, even scientists today don't fully understand a black hole. But I do. I understand how a black hole works. You see, the black hole is like a big vacuum. Yeah. But not just a vacuum, or ordinary vacuum that sucks up debris. It's a multifunction vacuum with the power of the biggest tornado you can imagine, and the power of hundreds of suns, hundreds of thousands of suns, the power that it generates. And as it turns, you see, it's slowly sucking up the universe. Yes. But we all think of this as a place to escape our reality. We try and find out more and more information on the universe and how it works, of course. But really, do we have to go that far? Do we really need to know what happens in the black hole? Not really. Well, I don't think that it's really necessary. But what is important, you see, is that we take all this information and we make movies. Like growing up, you see, I remember watching my first movies, my first science fiction movies. And, well, these movies were, to me, fascinating. I would imagine being in a spacecraft going across the Milky Way, heading to Mars, or to the unknown, like Star Trek. I watched every episode of that. And when they came out with, like, Space Odyssey or Space 1999 later on, I would gobble up all the information I could, even if it was science fiction. It allowed me to escape. And when you're young, your imagination explodes. Well, mine did. And I tried seeing myself in a movie, if you want, where I could just be anything I wanted to, or anybody I wanted to. I would make these spacecrafts out of cardboard and paper. Of course, I cost a fortune to my mother for all the tape, and glue, and all these little gadgets that I would collect around the house to make my spacecraft. See? And I would always pick up a stray alien on the way, that looked like a dog or a cat sometimes, but you get the picture. You have to let go sometimes. You have to relax, and you have to dream of what you would like to do. What is your perfect escape? Could it be maybe like, what would you do if you were stranded on a desert island somewhere? You could either be alone, or you could be with somebody. What would be your ultimate fantasy? Are you on a tropical island? Are you on a desert island surrounded only by ocean? And how would you get off? Or would you want to get off the island? Or would it be your paradise? That's the way to get the imagination flowing. And every day that goes by, you see, we as functioners, or everyday, task managers, if you want, building our society for the future. Well, as you're doing this, always remember that you could be somewhat an adventurer as you're doing this. You could be writing your own documentary of your life and your escape dream, the perfect way, That is why I'm sending you this information, so you could start your journey. You could be one of 1 billion different types of dream makers. And I always like to, put the message across that it is very possible. I have made so many examples of myself and the things that I have done, in my life. I have been, to various, or let's say different types of lifestyles. If I was doing some kind of, I'll say it, a lame job, boring, where you're doing the same thing over and over. Like if you're on an assembly line and you're doing the same task repeatedly over and over, the days become very long and tedious. That's where you need that escape pod. Yes, that black hole that you can enter, not knowing what you're going to find on the other side. See? An example. I had this job once, and I had to paint a barn. Could you believe it? I was painting around the barn, the windows, the doors, the trims, and it was a very boring job. Many, many hours of just painting, applying paint, you see. But then I said to myself, and I was young, so I conjured up this fantasy of my own that I wasn't just painting a barn, you see. I was actually, you could say, a creator of sorts. And I was putting on this coat of protective, a protective layer of, it was an invisible shield that was incorporated in the paint. And I was applying it to the barn as a protection against any alien attacks. Because back then, I wasn't sure if I believed in aliens or not. But I didn't want to take a chance, just in case they were real, So, I painted the barn, and my days were enjoyable because I was doing something to protect humanity from an invasion, if you want. See, that's just one example of what you can do. Of course, you have to be focused on your job, you see. If, it's very important that you do the job right, though. You can't drift off, totally into that dream world. You have to keep control on that, That's why it takes practice, but you can do it. Like I was saying before, the job I had on an assembly line, where my only task was to put these bolts in their place, you see, and then take this special tool and then tighten the bolts and make sure with a micrometer that everything was adjusted perfectly. Every piece only took a few seconds to do. But then, to be perfect, professional, I said to myself, I could be building a spacecraft. Yes. Instead of just some ordinary job, I was building a spacecraft. And it was so important to do it right. One mistake, and it could cost me my life. That the spacecraft would disintegrate once it left our orbit. So it was very important for me to do it right. These are only a couple of examples of my fertile imagination growing up. But there has been so many other adventures. Like we had this artificial lake. And it was pretty deep. I would say about 12 feet deep. And it was pretty wide. So I had my own oasis there, if you want, or my own beach, my own getaway. But I even went further than that. Under the water, I figured maybe there could be a lost city of sorts. Yeah. And this came from, like movies, shows. Like when I was watching The Land of the Lost, growing up. Or even, watching cartoons like The Jetsons. Yeah. All these things, that would grow my curiosity. So, sometimes I would go to the lake and I would have my mask and my snorkel and my fins. But I also had these flashlights that I had wrapped in plastic so they would become waterproof, you see. I had like 4 of them and I attached them to a piece of wood. So when I went underwater, I could see if I could find that lost city, or maybe even then there could be this alien ship buried in the mud below, where I would have to unbury it and find it and try and communicate underwater with these creatures. With these flashlights, I could see pretty good. There were these catfish, and I was figuring maybe, have you ever seen a catfish? They're not pretty, no. And they do sort of look like aliens, if you know what I mean. Maybe they are a breed of aliens, if we want. That's where I'm saying, don't despair. Use your imagination, no matter whatever or however, And also at the same time, see, it's a good way to build up your brain factor. You have to build up your brain factor. It's very important, because when you get to be older and wiser, you'll be able to use your brain factor to share with other people, because your knowledge is so important. And with the database that I have created for myself, that is why I share with you. So it can help you in building your future. Or even if you have built your future, it could help you in your dreams or your imagination. You know, like I was saying, the black hole. I always use this as an example. Coming back to it, something so immense and powerful that we have in our universe. If we could actually tap onto that and use that as a resource, the power, the ultimate power we would have that we could use in our spacecraft, that we could travel across the universe to the unknown and, well, find out if there's other life form. But I know there is. If we exist as a life form, I'm positive that there is more of us somewhere else in the galaxy. And, well, if the others are kind or gentle, or are they creatures of the unknown? Like when I was watching the movies Alien, could there be a life form out there that is not quite gentle like us? Maybe a life form that is destructive and that wants to take over and rule the universe. We don't know, because we have not encountered any of that. Only in the movies. And that is why I use this, because you never know what could happen in our future. Even though worlds are so far away, there's nothing saying that someone or something has not created the perfect means of travel, that one day they could reach us. And we have to be prepared. See, whether it be like, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the aliens are nice, or whether it be like, War of the Worlds. We don't know. That's why, like I say, we have to be prepared for any event that could occur. Like when I watched the movie Interstellar with Anne Hathaway and Matthew McConaughey. That is a very good example, you see, of the black hole syndrome. Yes. This could be something that does occur in our universe. What if we actually entered the black hole? Nobody knows. We could travel maybe to another part of a galaxy or another universe parallel to ours. but in another dimension, we would have to build a spacecraft that is indestructible. You know, I know we have probes that could be sent in there, and are being sent probably in there. So they would have to start by building a probe that is indestructible. Yes. And that way we could do some tests and find out what lies beyond the other parts of the universe. Just like right now, you know, as our Earth revolves and spins, time goes by, and we, as creators, are able to justify what time is all about. Oh, I exaggerate often on certain points and views, but isn't that reality? The way it goes? I think so. So, anyways, I just wanted to make a little video, or sort of a documentary, of my perspective of how to use your imagination in your dreams and in your everyday life. They don't really tell you that, you know, or explain how you could actually incorporate this in your everyday, you know, tasks. That's where I come in, and that's where I explain to you that it is very, very possible to do so. So go out there, no matter what it be, and use that fertile imagination of yours to be able to create your own world, your own escape, if you want, where you will find your happiness, and your days will go by so much easier. But always remember, like I say, stay focused, practice, because you have to be alert just in case there's that possibility that we do get visited one day. So I'm just going to finish typing this up. Now you take care. You know we love you. And be careful out there. You don't know what lurks. So, bye for now. Bye. It's getting shadowy. The sun is going down. It's so important to document everything. Could be very useful one day. Very dark. It's getting very dark out. Maybe there's a black hole coming our way. Who knows?